Good day. Today is Wednesday, and this is our Wednesday video that I do every Wednesday. I try and get a video and put it out. And today, like last week, we left off with us leaving a marathon, and today we're going to pick it back up after we get to Miami, and then I'll explain to you what we do. But before I get started here, just want to give you an update on how the job's going. So the captaining position that I took for Little Palm, everything's going good. I did have my doubts in the very beginning. I'll show you a couple of pictures here of the boats that we're driving. These are smaller, just to say that they're like 37 footers with, twin 440 horse Yanmars in them. So the handling's a little bit different, than one of these old Sea Slugs right here that, with 120 horsepower engines. And then we're also, you got to power them in. And the only day we shut down is for a hurricane. So the boats go, it doesn't matter. It's in 30 knots of wind or 40 knots of wind. It really doesn't matter. The boat's going. So it's just getting used to that and getting that mindset. But the boats are actually getting funner to drive, and I'm enjoying the position and stuff like that. It's a full-time job. Not a full-time, it's 4 day. It is a full-time 4-day-a-week job. So then I have 3 days off a week, so I can broker boats and stuff like that. While we're talking about that real quick, anybody needs help with buying a boat, just let me know. Right now I'm doing the best I can do. I'm still with Captain's Choice, but if I stay here in Florida, I've got to make a change on that too. And that takes a little bit of time I've got to find a broker, which I'm working with. I found one that I actually like. And that's where we took the 37 Nordic is over there. So we'll see how things work out for that. And I'll also put that listing down below here because I think the listing should be ready in another week or so on that boat. And you'll see a lot of that in today's footage because they were with us going over to the Bahamas. And it's, they were with us. So anyway, last week we left Miami. We're in Boca Chica, I believe, is where we left off. And over in No Name, and now we have to start staging because there's a couple different ways and a couple different routes. Had I had to do this all over again, I would have gone up to I believe it's West Palm, and gone out there and just taken the 50-mile crossing over to the Bahamas. I know they talk about this Gulf Stream and the Gulf Stream and how technical and stuff like that it can be, and it is, and you really do got to pay attention, but I would have rather taken the shortest distance in this 8-knot trawler. Now, if I had a fast boat or a sailboat or something like that, the circumstances may have changed. But for me, the biggest thing that I learned from doing that crossing is in this boat, in less than perfect weather, I want the shortest distance possible, not going with the Gulf Stream or against it or with it or whatever. And then I did learn, that once you get in that Gulf Stream, like going over there, our speed going over was quite a bit faster than our speed coming back, and that's all because we're fighting that Gulf Stream. So one of the big things that I learned from this whole experience was, it's just like anything else, weather, and then going through the Gulf Stream and stuff like that. I've never taken a boat through the Gulf Stream, and there is quite a difference when you reach the Gulf Stream, and then from this side, from the land side of the Gulf Stream, and then over to the Bahamas, the other side of the Gulf Stream. 3 different weather patterns, and we had 3 different situations in all of them. So we're in Boca Chica, basically, and then we want to go over to No Name, and then we decide to go over to Miami, where we stay the night, and we do some staging, pick up our last little bit of supplies. Then we head over to Fort Lauderdale, and we debated whether to go all the way to West Palm or Fort Lauderdale, and then we were looking at like a 2-day weather window, and supposedly the second day when we took off, which should have been better than the first day, but it didn't turn out that way. The day we took off was actually the best weather window, and we just wanted to get a jump on it and get over. And I'm glad we did that, because the next day we'd have been in a little more trouble than what we were on the day that we went over. And then but the thing is, when we got over to West End, so 2 typical ways or routes that you can go is you can go into Bimini or you go into West End. We chose to go into West End, and then we were going to do all of the Abaco Islands. The problem with either location, it doesn't really matter which one you go into, is the fact that there's nothing there. When you get to either one of them, you still have quite a ways to go. So if you're going to go in less than perfect weather over to Bimini or over to West End, you're stuck there in, if your weather doesn't allow you to move, you know, if you don't have like a 4-day window, you're not going to really be going too much further than either one of those locations. So it's something you have to weigh when you're getting ready to go over there, because Bimini is just a small little dot, but then it's still another, you know, on the Bimini side, it's quite a ways. On the other one, it's on West End, it's going over to Great Sail, let's say. You know, I think it's still another 70 miles before we start really getting into anything. Same thing when you're coming to Bimini. Now, if you're going over to Freeport from Bimini, yeah, it's about 60, 70 miles. And you got Stirrup Key and all those things. But it's really, there's nothing there. Like what I want to say is both locations are pretty remote, and there's really nothing there. You need the weather window for another 2 days at least to get anywhere where you can really start enjoying the islands and you know, the true Bahama, I guess, experience. We went over there with the feeling we didn't know anything. We didn't know we didn't know anything. But what we did do is after we left that night, or we left very early in the morning, like let's say 4 o'clock in the morning, we left an anchorage in Fort Myers. Sorry, I'm not going to say that. Fort Lauderdale. We left an anchorage in Fort Lauderdale, and then we came around, and you know, we went out the cruise ship where all the cruise ships were at and stuff like that, and we went over, and everything was fine that first. You know, getting to the Gulf Stream. And then even when we were going through the Gulf Stream, boat speed was, I'm looking down at my speedometer saying, oh my God, we're doing like 11 knots or something. And our plan was, because the Gulf Stream runs, it takes the boats north. So we were thinking, you know, this is the better run. We'll get in the Gulf Stream, we'll head up, and then it's kind of like cutting over to West End from there. You know, and it did knock off a little bit of time, but it really, fighting that current wasn't worth, you know, the 30 miles. We should have gone down to West Palm, in my opinion, and just taken the shortest, the 50 miles, and then just allowed for the current. And we'd lost a little bit of speed, but it still would have been better, I think. So anyway, we go over there to we get to West End, we check in. That was no big deal. All that is online. We just did the online check-in. And then once you get over there, you just hand them your paperwork. They're going to ask you for your number that you got online. And you give them that number. And then I just had to show them our passports. They stamped our passports. And we had to fill out a little form, and that was it. We were off the boat, and that took all of probably about 30 minutes. There's no extra charges or anything like that. I think it was $300 to get the permit to cruise over there. But when we got to West End, the weather held us there for actually about 2 or 3 days. And we ended up staying in the marina there at West End, and there was a little bit to do. I mean, we took the car into town. You guys see how we drove over to Freeport. We did quite a bit of that. I did some boat repairs. I changed the other shaft seal on the port engine this time. That went much smoother. That one's easier to get to, and that whole repair, I don't want to call it repair. It was just something, some routine maintenance that I wanted to complete. And it actually went pretty well, and you know, but after doing the starboard one and struggling with that one, the port one went really easy, and it, you know, everything worked out really well with it. So then we got stuck there for a few days, and then we started to move again. And once we started to move, you know, it was just a wonderful experience. And we were with Laura and Michael and the Nordic Tug 37. And he was kind of Michael was kind of our cruise director, so he kind of you know, said, hey, you know, this is where I'd like to go today. And we ended up going over here into the Bahamas, this is where we were at, which is West End right here, and this is the marina that we were in. You still have, you can see right here, but by the time you come around and everything, it's about 55 miles, and you can see right here, and that's just to get anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is where we ended up right here, staying our first night, which was Great Sail Key. but you're still in the middle of nowhere, you know, so you're out here, and so we took 2 or 3 days waiting out weather, and then we got, I think it was 3 days we stayed at the marina exactly, and then we came over here. But even here, you can see how remote it is even here. And then the next day we went over here, and we did some snorkeling right here at the Snorkel Reef Marina Rocks, which was cool. I'm glad that we did it. It was very, very cool. And then, but again, this is a day's trip, and then this is another day's trip, and I'll just show you how many miles. These were pretty remote. That's why I was saying you gotta have these weather windows, otherwise. So we had plans after leaving Manjack is to go over to Green Turtle Key and stay. But that day we went fishing. We came out, we went fishing for a few minutes, and that didn't pan out. So then we came back here, picked Laura up, and then we went over here to No Name, and this is where the pigs are at, on this island right here. And you just throw your anchor out right here, and then they have a nice resort in there where we could go get something to eat, play around, and stuff like that. So we ended up staying at Manjack, which is right here. We ended up staying, this was my favorite place, Numjack. And staying there for a couple of days, waiting out, and I wouldn't say weather, we were just having a great time, and fishing and swimming and boarding and stuff like that. And then we came over here, and this is where we actually said goodbye to Laura and Michael aboard the Gypsy on the Nordic Tug, and we stayed in this marina right here. We tried to anchor inside here, but there was no way. They didn't have the mooring balls were no good, or they were all full. And so then we ended up staying in the marina there. It was probably one of the West End, and there is the only night we stayed on a marina in the Bahamas. So then after we left there, this is one of the sandbars that I was telling you about. The next day, me and Pete just came around, and we came all the way over to here. And these are all just keys right here. But again, right here, you can't get past the sandbar, so you have to go out. You have to come out right here, go around, and then come back in, and then come right through here. And then we ended up staying the night right here at this little anchorage right here, which was fine. But the weather started to pick up on us a little bit. And there was really no protection, is what I'm trying to tell you guys, right out here. I mean, you're just out in the weather. I mean, and there's no way to get out of it unless you go into one of the marinas. But we just didn't do that. We were planned on anchoring, and we stayed on the hook pretty much. So if it was rough out, it was rough. So then we came over here, and we just played around in here for a day or so. All of this is just, and you got to watch your way, because this is all really shallow, but then you can follow in here into the depths and stuff like that. And we ended up all the way over here. This is where we staged to go out. And then we did pick up a mooring ball inside here in Little Harbor. And then we, this is where we rode the bike, and we lost juice on the bike because it had the juice ran out. I thought we had enough juice to come all the way over, so we went all the way to the end over here, saw the village, and then we were coming back. We missed the turnoff that comes over here to the marina, and we ended up down here. But what I did is I turned I went into high power, which I shouldn't have, until we made this turn coming back into the marina. So we lost our way back in, and we were on high power when I figured out that we went too far. And then so we ended up pushing the bikes back for a little ways. Anyway, we ended up staging there, and then we come out of Little Harbor right here, which is beautiful. And we left a t-shirt hanging in the bar here and everything like that. But we came out here early one morning, and then we come around here, cut through the reef right here, and that was it. We came up and around, and then once you make this corner right here, we just kept coming all the way down to here, and then we start right over here to Great Stirrup Key. Now we ended up doing this in like a 36-hour crossing. So when we left here, we came all the way down and around here, and we had just a beautiful, beautiful weather. And then this is all a shipping lane right here, and my radar was going. It wasn't going out, but it was like the screen was not working properly, and so it scared me at night. So I decided, let's just come up here on the flats, because we know the big ships wouldn't be up here on the flats. And if we did lose our radar, we ended up not losing the radar, but it was pretty much, you know, this whole trip right here is pretty much just put it on autopilot and just do a lookout. And even at nighttime, it was just keep an eye on the radar and just set the autopilot and go. And we just had a beautiful crossing. The weather was absolutely perfect. And we had our out to where we could have just stopped here at Stirrup Key and anchored or checked into a marina, or we could have kept going, which we chose to keep going. And then we just checked into Bimini right here. And that's where we actually checked out to come back. And then we just came straight over to Miami. And then once we got into Miami here, we just ended up staying the night right here. We just threw the anchor out right here. We got in here kind of late. By the time we got over and got done that day, and we were both tired, so we just threw the anchor out and spent the night. I believe it was right here, right after this bridge right here. So now that we've completed the Bahamas, or not the Bahamas, let's just say the Albacoa Islands of the Bahamas, you know, it's time to get back. It's time to fill our checkbooks up again, our checking accounts back up again, and then revamp and reevaluate everything of what we're going to do and how this is all going to play out. And I keep going back to, there's a couple videos I did where I talk about what to do with this boat right here, and then as I make the transition into the next boat, because I do want to upgrade the boats now. I really like to upgrade it before I left here again. So I don't know how much work I'm going to really do to Southern Estate, because if I do have to sell her, you know, she's in pretty dang good shape right now. And I don't want to keep sticking any more money into it. It's just money I'll lose, basically. Or do I give it away? And I've always said that even in a couple of my videos. I've said that in a couple of my videos now, where, you know, that the ultimate goal would be just to give Southern Estate away, and maybe it is to a YouTube subscriber. I don't know any of that, and I don't know how any of that works and how it would look or anything like that, but it is still in the back of my thought, because right now these next plan is to switch. I'm gonna have to switch brokerages if I want to continue to sell boats. You can't sell boats. Our brokerage just doesn't sponsor Florida, so I have to make the switch, which I did. This last week I went and talked to another broker, and I've got to get a sponsor basically, but it's me that I have to go out and spend, I don't know, it's a little less than $1,000 getting a bond and doing the fingerprints and doing everything that I've got to do for the Florida license, which I am going to do, but I just got to pick the right broker. And so right now we have the Gypsy over at a broker that I really liked, because he doesn't sell the lower end stuff. It's not that he doesn't sell the lower end stuff. He doesn't sell the unquality stuff. He's not like the Curtis Stokes type mentality where they'll list anything and they don't, you know, unless they're use licensed surveyors and stuff like that. So his mentality is, you know, that he'd rather the boat was checked out in really good operating shape before he ever took the listing on it, and at a good price, to where, you know, like Curtis Stokes type broker will list the boat for any price and in any condition, and you know, it is what it is, and you got to kind of sort it out and figure it out for yourself. So I liked his style of brokerages, and so that may be the direction that I go. And then I really want to, my next boat, you know, is going to be well, what I want it to be is a 65-foot Fleming. So, and I know that's a long, you know, ways from, hey Paul, you know, you're going from you know, a trawler that you paid $25,000 for to a trawler that costs, you know, probably new is $5 million. And how do you do that? Well, I want everybody to know that if I can do it, anybody can do it. But there's a lot more to it than just, you know, working a job and doing it. You got to be smart. You got to be, got to know what you're doing. You have to have investments. You've got to have money working for you. You can't just work for all that money, you know, because my captain's job, it doesn't pay anything, but a few investments that I have made have been paying, and then I have to get a couple brokerage jobs, and, you know, and then get some good commissions off of that, and a few things. Anyway, the 3-year plan is to, at the end of the 3 years, is to buy a 65-foot Fleming, so we'll see how that goes. And next week's video, I really want to talk about when we got to Marathon here, because now that we've been here now a while, and what we're finding out is that you know, living on this boat is the only affordable housing in the Florida Keys, really, because you know, rental on a house is just outrageous. And then you know, so your boat's got to be set up. The more off-grid it's set up, the less money it's going to be for you out here in the Florida Keys. Anyway, I thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And you know, you got any questions, you know, leave your comments down below. If you feel like you want to reach out to me, just call me, or you know, leave a message on, I get you my phone number and we'll talk. But you know, I just really want to say thank you. And you know, I'm working on stuff, and I'm going to change the channel a little bit here, and I'm going to do some live videos. I'm going to try and do Fridays and Mondays and Fridays on the live with the net here, so you guys can hear what's going on in the harbor and stuff like that. And then I wanted, like, next week's video is going to be affordable housing in the Keys, and that'll be about the boats. Anyway, peace out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, share with your friends, and I thank you so much for watching. Thanks. Bye.